Hi everyone. I know it's been a while since I've done any videos or really posted on my awareness page. I'm really pushing myself right now to get back into that, raising awareness, advocating for others, helping where I can. Um, Today's video is something that I was speaking to my mom about. So you're gonna get a slight storyline and medical update on me, and then I'll kind of get to the point of the video. Um, March 2013 is when I received my feeding tube, and I gained weight back. I was doing good. I had energy. I was able to work, put my fundraiser together, travel to see my best friend have her baby, and be able to spend time with them. Um, it was when I got back, November 2013, we found out that I had adrenal insufficiency. Unfortunately, the way that we found out I had adrenal insufficiency is because my body crashed on me, and I almost went into adrenal crisis. And that took a lot out of me. I had no energy, I had lost a lot of weight. It was taking a couple months to bounce back. And right as I was starting to bounce back, I started having my dystonic episodes, multiple episodes a day, daily, and it was painful, and again, it was draining me of energy. By pure luck, during a medication change, we found something that stopped my dystonic episodes, phenobarbital, and it completely stopped them, and I haven't had any really since then. I've had a few dystonic episodes, but um, they were more related to, I believe, medications, if I remember correctly. Um, but unfortunately, we were able to stop my dystonic episodes, and exactly at the same time, that's when my stoma became infected with MRSA, and I fought with that for 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, including stopping using my tube altogether and being on TPN for 3 months. Um, During the time that I was fighting MRSA and trying to save my feeding tube, um, my mast cell condition got worse, and that's when I started experiencing anaphylactic reactions. Um, Allergic reactions where I actually needed to use an EpiPen and go to the ER because of the swelling and the inability to breathe. Um, so then we started exploring medication options in regards to that. Um, I was able to get off of TPN in October. For the most part, my feeding tube was no longer effective, but it wasn't healed. But I was able to tolerate it. Um, After that, I stopped tolerating tube feeds altogether, unfortunately, because my intestines finally caught up to the speed of my stomach. So at the beginning, I tried an oral diet first. Unfortunately, I couldn't sustain an oral diet still, and so I was switched over to TPN permanently. During the first couple months of this year, we decided to try a couple new treatments for my mast cell condition. One of them was called IVIG. What it is if you donate blood, it's not just your blood that's used. They pull the plasma from your blood, they pull antibodies from your blood, and IgG is one of the antibodies that makes up your immune system. And so they pull the IgG from your blood, and it's given. There's a couple different ways to do it, um, but typically it's administered in the IV form first. Unfortunately, that can have a lot of really bad side effects, and I ended up with aseptic meningitis. I was admitted the day after my first treatment, and so we decided to try the subcutaneous route, which is actually done. I do it here at home. It's 3 needles about this long, and I put them on my stomach, and over about an hour and a half to 2 hours, um, I the medication is pushed in. Instead of once a month like IVIG is, subcutaneous IgG is done weekly. So I'm getting a much smaller amount, which is supposed to decrease the chances of any adverse reactions. Unfortunately, I've become allergic to either the pressure that happens, the medication itself, um, but I'm unable to use that anymore after a couple of months, and we saw absolutely no improvement either. So, we're going to be moving on to a different treatment. Um, in March, no, May, I believe it was, we decided to have my feeding tube pulled. Because I was developing ulcers and it was just becoming way too painful. The only thing I was using it was for my medications because I was back on TPN at that point, and it was not worth the pain that I was in. Unfortunately, pulling my tube, it took 2.5 months for my stoma to completely heal. I did develop a couple of abscesses that I had to drain, and I also was pretty badly burnt on a daily basis from the bile. My nurse got me all sorts of dressings and stuff to help protect my skin, which helped a little bit, but just it wasn't enough to completely protect. So I'm still trying to heal from the burns. And I'm not talking like burns from a candle or anything. It's just a surface burn, but it was still painful as can be. Um, a couple weeks or so after my feeding tube was pulled, um, I ended up developing an infection that got into my blood, and so I was septic. They think it was from my port, but my mom, me, and my nurse all agree that it was more than likely from my stoma, um, because you couldn't tell what was discharge, what was bile, and the redness and heat on my stomach because of the burns. But it was not a fun experience. My body pain was horrible. I was in so much pain and I felt like my skin was burning, like from the inside. Um, I spiked a fever up to 105 and my resting heart rate was about 160. Fortunately, the hospital that I go to, they did a really great job. And they, I don't want to say they sedated me, but they were able to give me medications to help me rest and get through the worst part of it. Um, and then after that was my first admission for my mast cell disease. I kept having back-to-back anaphylactic reactions, so they had to admit me to keep them under control. Um, and so now, I'm not tolerating much orally. I have to be really careful with what I intake because it's starting to trigger, pretty bad reactions, even though I'm taking Benadryl and Atarax and like 5 other medications. Um, it's getting pretty bad. And so my doctor is sending in an order for IV fluids. And this is where me and my mom were talking. I had told my doctor I feel like I'm taking a few steps back in my progress. And he told me no, it's not a few steps back. Um, it's just a speed bump and you'll get through it like you've gotten through everything else. And I looked at my mom and I said, yeah, everything else, it's getting really frustrating. I feel like it's just one thing after another, and I'm not getting a break. But you know what? I still have hope. I still have faith. I have my friends and family. I had my fundraiser this year, and it was a little trickier because I'm more sick than I've been the first 2 years, and um, one of the girls that was staying with me, she was also pretty sick, and so um, I didn't get to spend much time with my friends, and I was just grateful that they would understand because they pretty much did everything in order to make sure that the fundraiser was able to proceed. Um, and that is what gives me hope. That's what gives me faith. That's what makes me know that, you know, I may be having back to back issues consistently, but I have these people fighting with me, um, and fighting for me when I want to give up. It's not easy, but with each speed bump that I run into, it's something new for me to learn. Whether it's learning something like being on TPN or having a port or learning, you know, my who's there for me and who's not, or having my family here for me. um I Whether you have one person or 100 fighting behind you, fighting, well, not behind you, fighting next to you, that's still somebody. And if you don't owe yourself, you at least owe them to continue to have faith and hope. It may get hard, but you're alive, your heart's beating, and that is the very first thing that you should consider when you give up. It's easy having a chronic illness and not wanting anything to do with life. I I experienced my own bout of depression, and I didn't want to do anything, and I didn't want to go anywhere, and I just was laying in bed, and I had started up Vials of Love, and I just pretty much stopped working on everything. And then spending time in North Carolina with my best friend, um, of course, you have those conversations, and it's just a reminder, you know, it was a huge reminder to me that there's others there for me. So if I don't do it for myself, I owe it to those who drive up 700 miles to be here for 2 days for my fundraiser, or to my friend who flew from Florida, and I had to leave stranded at the airport because I needed to take somebody to the ER. Instead, when I texted her and told her what was going on, she didn't complain about having to sit at the airport and wait for my mom to get there. Her reaction was, well, make sure that they do this, 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 and that. Um, I owe it to my niece and nephew and godson, to keep fighting because they love me, and you know, I have my godson always asking, when are you going to get better? And I explained to him, I don't know. And I said, but we're still, hey, I'm still here, and because of him, I do owe it. Whether it's a significant other, your parents, your siblings, your friends, their kids, um, there's got to be, even if it's just that one person, that should be your hope and that should be your faith. Um, you're not alone, and even if it's back to back issues, there's someone that's been there and done that, and I'm sure you can find them and talk to them. In today's world with social media, there's groups for everything on Facebook. The hashtags on Instagram is how I met half the people that I know who have chronic illnesses. Um, you don't have to be alone, and I know it's so easy to want to give up, but it's not the answer. Um, I know it hurts and it gets exhausting to always have to be dealing with something and to be that sick person in your family or friends or whatever, but that's not who you are. No matter what is going on, your illness does not define you. I've taken my illness and I've made it what I want it to be. A way to teach others, a way to help others, a way to advocate for others, and a way to spread awareness. And you can do the same thing whether you want to do something with what your disease has given you, or if you want to try something new like crafts, or baking or something that just passes the time away. Your illness is not who you are. You, and no matter what happens with your illness, that doesn't define you. It's easy to forget that. It's easy to be that person with all those problems, or that person with gastroparesis, or the sick girl, or the girl that's always in the hospital, or that person you know, who has a feeding tube, things like that. But people who define you like that don't know you. And I guarantee if they could spend a couple of hours with you, they would know that's not who you are. That's what you're going through, but it's not the person you are. So, pretty much, this video is about hope, faith, love. Don't let whatever problems you have get you too far down. And if you know you're having issues, don't be afraid to admit that you need help, that you're not happy, that you're depressed. I mean, it's something that can be fixed. Well, not fixed, but it's something that can be helped. And that's, as long as there's some sort of help behind it, there's no reason to let that get you, take the best from you. So, yes, I may be TP independent. I may have back-to-back speed bumps, but the person I am is not my disease. The person I am is a friend, a sister, a daughter, an aunt, a godmother, an advocate, and a mentor. And I plan on still being who I am. And when my friends are here from North Carolina for the fundraiser this year, that's one of the things I love about them is, you know, I'm not defined by my illness. They see past it. It's, my illness is just there, and they see who I was before I was sick, and they remember who I was, and they bring that person back out. And it's like I never left high school in North Carolina, pretty much. But, you know, don't be afraid to laugh. Don't be afraid to love. And don't let anybody bring you down and let you know, or let you think that you're allowing your illness to define you. I'm always available to talk to, uh, if anybody needs it. And I also have groups that I can recommend on Facebook. People who are probably going through the exact same thing as you, well, not exact same, but similar situation as you, um, on Instagram. Um, I'm always available for questions, um, and video suggestions if anybody has them. But, stay strong, keep fighting, keep a smile on your face and laughter in your heart, and you will get through it no matter what is thrown at you.